Welcome to our tutorial about the Trim command. Let's begin by going to the Surface tab. Let's activate the Planar Surface tool to create a surface. And let's close some panels on my ribbon here. Control vertices. Now let's place an ellipse in model space. Activate the Trim command. First, we select the surfaces to trim. Right-click and enter. Now we select cutting curves, surfaces, or regions. Right-click. Third step, we select the area to trim. Select inside the ellipse, and the trim executes. The tool remains active, but let's just undo. Now the tool is no longer active. Let's delete that ellipse. Activate the Line command. Let's place some more geometry. Right-click and enter to close the Line command. Now activate the Trim command. This time, right-click and select Extend. Yes, extend trimming geometry. Now we select the surfaces to trim. Right-click and enter. Select the cutting curves or geometry. We'll choose our line. Right-click. Now the area to trim. Choose the right side of the line. And AutoCAD extended the line to trim the entire surface. Let's undo that trim and delete the line. We'll try one more example using the Extend option. Let's place a polyline. Start point. And we'll place our polyline points. Right-click and enter to close the tool. Left-click on the Trim command. Before we select the surfaces to trim, right-click and choose Extend, and opt to extend the trimming geometry. Now let's make our selection the surface. Right-click and enter to finish the selection. Next, we choose the cutting geometry or surface. I'll choose the polyline. Right-click. And thirdly, the area to trim. I'll click this part of the surface, and our trim executes. Let's undo. Let's try another example where we don't extend the trimming geometry. Right-click. Extend, no. Now select the surface to trim. Right-click and enter. Trimming geometry, our polyline. Right-click. Now if I try to trim on this side, I'm not able to. However, I can still trim on the other side. It's because the polyline is long enough to cut through the whole surface. Let's undo that and delete the polyline. Now let's go to the Home tab. I'm going to place some support geometry. Let's say a wedge. First corner, second corner, and the height of the wedge. Let's go to the Surface tab. Activate the Ellipse command. Dynamic UCS is toggled on. And something like this. Okay, let's select and delete the wedge. Now we've got an ellipse which is elevated above the surface at an angle. We'll use this geometry to test another one of the trim options, projection direction. Let's activate the Trim command. Right-click, scroll to Projection Direction. First option is Automatic Trim. Let's select the surface. Right-click and enter to accept. Now the cutting curve, we'll choose the ellipse. Right-click to finish that selection, and thirdly, the area to trim. And here are the results of our work. Let's undo that trim. Activate the command again. Right-click, Projection Direction. The next option is View. I'll cut whatever I see through my ellipse. Select the surface to trim. Right-click and enter to finish the selection. Now the ellipse. Right-click. And now the area to trim. Okay, let's undo that trim. Activate the command again. Right-click, Projection Direction. Let's use the UCS option. This cuts along the Z-axis of your current UCS. Let's select the surface. Right-click and enter to finish the selection. Now the cutting curve, the ellipse. Right-click. And thirdly, the area to trim. As you can see, once you get to know how to use the trimming options, you'll be able to trim your surfaces with flexibility and speed. And this concludes our lesson about the Trim Surfaces tool.